Okay, so right there, as you can see, I had to set up my background for filming. Or another word we could use is I had to set up my environment. The world is full of so many incredible places, awe-inspiring places, places you want to explore, places that are just nice to look at. No, not that place. And all these lovely environments are even further enhanced when artists take them and enhance them and bring out the best parts of them to create environment art. Environment art isn't something I've ever really focused on, but I think it's about time that I change that. Because obviously, it would be cool to take the super awesome characters I make and put them into No! So, I split the learning into 4 parts, which I did over 3 days. 1, I gathered different resources, tutorials, tips and tricks videos, basics of environment art, all that kind of stuff, to kind of, make a little path for myself to walk down. Step 2, it's time to put everything I learned in step 1 into practice. Start creating, start just making things. Take that path and walk on down. You know what I mean? 3, step 3 is the reflection stage, and in my opinion, possibly the most important part. This is where we look back on what we've done, see what we could have done better, see what we've learned, and summarize the whole scenario. We look back along the path we've walked down. 4. Now yeah, you might be thinking, 3 days isn't that much time. Okay, sure, maybe for you, but
I'm a stud. I'm ballsy.
Anyway, let's get started with day. In my opinion, day 1 was the least interesting of the 3 days. I spent most of it just looking through different tutorial videos and seeing what I could learn and how people generally go about creating environments in Blender. You gotta just love YouTube, hey man, you can just find whatever you want these days, it's crazy. I did do 1 full tutorial, however, at the end of the day. It was this video on using texture displacement in cycles in the render engine to create different cool environments. Crazy stuff, and you can use it if you have a really high poly mesh, you can actually make it so it displaces the model just using right in the shader editor, because in cycles you can turn off doing normal displacement to actually doing real. The only problem I found with that though is the only way you can actually see the changes you're making in the render and actually doing real slower, it can age to see the changes you're making. For making backgrounds and stuff, it's really helpful. And this is the end result I got. It's not terrible, I don't have any problem with it, but it's not like something I'm specifically proud of, so it's very similar to the way your mother looks at you. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say for the first day. It might seem a little bit boring. I'm like, oh, this is usually but learning is a process, okay? Sometimes there's tedium involved. It's called a process for a reason. Jesus Christ. I'm sorry, okay, if day 1 wasn't interesting enough for you. But I got you covered, okay? Day 2 is where the interesting stuff begins to happen, okay? So let's get to it. Day 2, I decided to create a scene all by myself. I wanted to make a lakeside beach, with the mountains in the distance, a sunset. I wanted to create a romantic scene because I'm a romantic guy. So this is where I kind of put all of my knowledge in. I'll just run through it quickly. We all have other things to do, especially me, but I can't actually do anything else. I'm stuck in this video until you finish watching it, so the shorter it is, the better. Let's go. Just using regular planes, I created the basic shape for the beach and then the lake, and then using the ant add-on built into Blender, I created the mountains in the background. I only created a couple different mountain shapes and then just duplicated them to fill out the scene. This created a nice foreground, midground, and background, which is a good rule of thumb to use for good scene composition. Over the closest mountains, I used a particle system, and I just used these tree PNGs to add some vegetation that wasn't going to be too taxing on my computer, because I think if I used actual 3D tree models, my computer would start doing some crazy things and attracted some seriously unwanted attention.
Camera recording.
And then using that displacement trick I told you all about that I learned on day 1, I made the sand look nice and used. Then just used regular PBR textures I found off the internet for the grass and the mountains. Grass? There's no grass. Yeah. I haven't actually been outside in weeks. On the sand and the mountains, I just used PBR textures to add color and a little bit more detail. On the water, I used a glossy shader and plugged a noise texture into its bump to break it up and make it look nice and wavy. I just used an HDRI and a single sun lamp to light the scene. I turned on depth of field on the camera to enhance the scene's sense of scale. Cook it up in the render dem, yeah? And this is what I got. I didn't do any post-processing because when I do the refinement stage on day 3, I want the before and after to be even more drastic for, better content. Shh. The result is okay, but it definitely feels like it has potential and it's just waiting to be brought out. Oh, maybe that's how your mother sees you. So at this point, I'm just kind of hoping, will I get some kind of magical save that'll save the whole thing? Or is this a complete failure? Am I a failure? Should I just give up and die? Well, you're gonna have to wait until day 3 to find out, so stick around. Okay, so I found this one video that actually had exactly what I needed in this scenario. It was the perfect video. Big ups to CG Boost. You guys are kind of like the Radiator Springs to my Lightning McQueen. So I went on the internet, I grabbed some things, I grabbed a little 3D model, some PNGs. And trust me, these are gonna come in handy later. I added some volumetrics. These enhance the depth and the effects of the lighting, and I'm surprised. I genuinely didn't know that just putting a big ass volumetric in the scene would make such a huge difference. This alone, I was pretty shocked. But yeah, so volumetrics, more depth. It also adds atmosphere. And then that table, see how soon it came into play? I added it right in the front of the scene like that, look. Right in the front. Enhances that composition and it draws your eye towards the middle of the scene with the way I lined it up. It's just great. I really like, and then it looks like the camera's kind of resting on the table. I thought it was pretty cool. I'm personally, I thought it was cool, okay? Then I added that bird PNG and just in the top right corner, just a little bit more breakup of the scene, a little bit more interest, so it's not so blank. And then, now when I rendered it, I actually did the post-processing and look at the difference. Look at the difference. Look. It's crazy, you know? A little bit at the end can go a long way. So going forwards, now it's proper time for the last step. So now it's time to look back and really make sure we learn something out of this. So here, a little list of things we've gone through and what we learned creates good environments. Right there. Nice and concise for you. And then over here are the things I'm going to work on going forward. So this is probably not as important for you because as far as I know, you're not me. I gotta make sure the scale of my scenes are more accurate. I could benefit from spending more time with my initial composition, get better at making the particle systems I use for adding detail. And then lighting and basic color theory can always be improved. So here's those things. So now we have what I did learn and what I need to improve on. Nice and concise. A+ at school. That's how you get a good grade. That's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed, but I hope you didn't learn anything because there's already way too much competition in this field and I don't really need it anymore. So go get a job like, I don't know, installing air conditioners. Why did I even make this video?